Hey everybody, it's David Pingree here at Angel Stadium of Anaheim. We got round one of the Monster Energy Supercross series in the books, and we're cruising around here. Took a look at all the race bikes. This is the second installment, and we really want to get in and just show you the factory custom bits and pieces, all that stuff you can't buy or wish you could buy and can't afford and all that. These guys really spend a lot of time and money and effort and energy into building these things, and we want to at least showcase some of that stuff and give you guys a look at it before it gets all beat up. Let's go check it out. Hey guys, Factory Honda finally pulled their bikes out. Here's Kenny Roczen's race machine. Easily the comeback story of the year, regardless of whether or not this guy wins. What he came back from was crazy. Interesting thing on the two Hondas, Kenny's running the Showa stuff, Cole Seeley running the KYB. Just a different feel. Guys kind of making a personal preference pick. It's cool that Honda's allowing them to do that. Sometimes they get pressure from those manufacturers to pick a certain brand. So it's nice to see that their goal is still winning. A lot of cool little carbon bits. Again, you see on the cap, all customized for Kenny. Arc levers, you're seeing a lot more of that. Those are really cool. He can manufacture any size, any kind of pitch, if you want a fatter paddle or something thinner. These are Works Honda triple clamps, made to their specifications, obviously, which is really cool. And all of these titanium bolts, even if you look here, not only is it tie, but it's hollowed out tie. They add hollow, as they like to say, so making the light stuff even lighter, really cool. And then he's got a little mesh screen in front of here, kind of keeps big rocks and mud from packing up in there so that they don't have any kind of heat issues. As you come around this way, see a couple things. Carbon fiber tank cover, that's made actually by Asterisk, same guys that make the knee braces. They have a composite company. They make this little carbon guard in front of the master cylinder as well. And those guys are getting into that, may or may not be selling it. I don't think they've really decided, but it's really high-end stuff, super strong. It's not just for looks. You can actually smash into something with this disc cover and it's gonna protect your rotor. And then this little exclamation point, that's a company called Think Seat Foam. So the foam that's under here it's actually a full pound lighter than a stock seat foam. And that's actually really important because it sits high, and obviously that's gonna change the pitch characteristic. So a whole pound lighter right here gained. As you come down, the engine on these things is it's like a work of art. So again, they're collecting data here, heat sensors, that allows them to affect fuel mapping, stuff like that. They can go in and just change that on a computer. Really cool when you dive into this thing and look, there's like little carbon guards, little brackets that hold the batteries and stuff like that. These guys do a really good job. And I don't even know if you can see in here, but the whole bracket that holds the battery is all carbon fiber. It's beautiful. Some different color anodized nuts and bolts and pieces. Billet titanium foot pegs. And all of these cases, this is from factory Japan as well. Light, strong, durable. Again, the Showa springs, they're doing this really cool, candy apple red color on those. Really, really awesome. And as you get to the back, the banjo bolts are anodized, factory hubs. Yoshimura's RS9 exhaust, looking good. When you get to this side of the motor, it's pretty cool. These guys have both gone to hydraulic clutches, Cole and Ken Roczen both. They started running them last summer, and so this whole piece is obviously all custom. And this here, I was asking what this was. This is just where the standard clutch goes in, because you have to run a stock transmission case, right? So this cover just plugs down where the clutch actuating arm would go. So that's all that is. But again, simple but very clean. All of this stuff, titanium, beautiful parts and pieces coming from Japan. And then up front again, you see this on all the bikes, these calipers, whether it's Brembo or this is Nissan, things are beautiful. Polished, very strong, larger piston diameter, a lot of strength. And then again, the Asterisk disc guard. And this thing is rigid. Like I said, you can take a hit into another bike and it's gonna protect your rotor. And these covers up top, both made by Asterisk as well, really pretty. These things are very well made. So I wouldn't expect this bike to be far off from the front of the pack all year. All right, guys, we're here in the Monster Energy Kawasaki pit. Eli Tomac's bike. This is my prediction for your race winner this weekend. This thing is beautiful. So we walked around with Dean Gibson, the motor builder, and just kind of got some takes on the parts and pieces. You're seeing a lot of the X-Trig clamps. These are really, really popular with race teams. Give you the flex where you need it, the rigidity where you need it. Really cool. Look at this Nissan caliper, thing's all polished up. Again, that's something you're not gonna be able to buy. Beautiful. As you work your way back, you look up here, they do a lot of data collection. We talked about that earlier. So this whole setup is something really unique. I haven't seen that on any other bikes, but it allows them to gather information on the stroke speed, how deep it's going into the stroke. I don't know what they do with those numbers. They just go back and pencil whip them. I don't know what they do, but anyway, they're gathering as much information as they can each and every round. And again, you'll see some of these connectors in here. That's all data acquisition. That's very big now. So Hinson makes these pieces for Kawasaki. Just, again, higher quality, stronger, lighter. That's what they're always looking for. They manufacture these little pieces. You see the engine hangers, all this stuff. Beautiful. These are handmade, these foot pegs. These things are awesome. Beautiful, beautiful welding and stuff. But these are all handmade down there by the guys at Kawasaki. Again, they're running that Pro Circuit boot we were talking about. And if you look down here, you can see carbon. There's a place down by Kawasaki that makes all of their carbon fiber for them. So beautiful stuff. That stuff looks really good. And then here on the end, I wish Pro Circuit would sell these. You only find it on these Cowie bikes. Beautiful carbon end cap with a green carbon lace in there. Really pretty. And when you get on here, if you look at some of this detail, this is what makes race bikes so cool. Just little pieces like that, to me anyway. Beautiful. All these aluminum parts and pieces polished up. Again, these cases are all a KHI product. You're not gonna be able to get that. I'm sure this is a Works transmission inside, again, for just better material, a little lighter, stronger. And these little parts, this is actually a Boysen piece here on the water pump cooler. And if you can get a shot inside here, you can see all the connectors for the data acquisition. So they're pulling a lot of information off this thing every time it comes off the track. And you can see they're taking extra precautions up here with the master cylinder and caliper, running carbon fiber guards, anything they can do to protect that from rocks. Again, you got the custom cap up top. But that right there is a beautiful bike. Start device here. This is pretty neat setup. They've got 2 different heights, but basically on the same piece, which is pretty cool. That's going to be a fast motorcycle on Saturday night. All right, guys, we're here in the Husqvarna pits with Dean Wilson's race bike, and these things are beautiful. I mean, you can look at even from the levers, these kind of dull finished levers, trick little carbon fiber bits and pieces here. This is made from a guy in-house down in North Carolina. Each rider's choosing different bar mounts. Dean likes more of a rigid feel. They also went with more of a stock power plant this year. He rode the stock bike down in Australia and really liked the way the power delivered. He liked the way that when they got off the throttle, it didn't upset the chassis by having too much compression. It was a really usable power, so they started with that. And it's interesting to see those kind of things. W builds their wheel sets, Talon hubs, Excel A60 rim. It's kind of the gold standard, especially for Supercross. Obviously the big heavy duty WP forks. These guys are kind of all sticking with that. And if you get down in here, you can see this header. This is a custom header from FMF. You look at the backside, instead of just having your normal round power bomb, they've added some volume on the backside. It's pretty cool. That's something you're not going to see for sale on an FMF website. And down below this, all of the carbon fiber, this is all Akrapovic. It's built really custom for these things. It sets in, doesn't hang down at all, but it's protecting all of this. The cases here, this is all anodized. It's a stock case. This is just anodized to look cool. Keeps dirt out of it, keeps it kind of true and protects it throughout the season as they get into different kind of dirt and mud. One thing that's special for Dino that's kind of weird, these are stock pegs. He just likes these a little bit sharpened up. They've tried every kind of tie and billet thing you can imagine, and he prefers the stock pegs, so that's kind of different. When you swing back to the back, you'll notice another thing, the Brembo brakes. These are beautiful brakes, man. It's basically a stock version, but a works bike, basically. So these are bigger pistons, a lot more stopping power, just a really nice setup, and then the anodized carrier really finishes it off nice. And get back to this side, again, the Akrapovic carbon fiber on the back here. This here is a works piece, magnesium or some type of material. Gives them a little bit more volume maybe inside, not sure. And then really inside of these bikes, it's crazy. The Huskies and KTMs, they don't do too much to the motors. really like a cam and stronger material on the tranny. That's about all they do. You'd be shocked at how stock this motor is. They already make so much power, there's not really a need, particularly in Supercross, to build a whole lot more horsepower. And up top here, you see Dean runs a really unique seat. This thing has like little wings that are just all padding. I imagine it's so that he can clamp his knees onto that and pick it up, but definitely a little bit different looking there. So that's Dean's race bike, thing's beautiful. Marvin Musquin's race bike, the number 25. This guy's been on fire all off season. It's gonna be really interesting to see how that carries over and if he can lock down his first major championship this year. WP suspension, you see a lot of the really cool carbon bits and pieces, obviously titanium everywhere. You got drop down, you can kind of see they run the kite hubs, DID rims on these things. So it's a W distributes all that stuff, so it's one of their products. Moto Master rotors, which is different than some teams. The Akrapovic exhaust, this is looking a little different than what you can find, what you buy, but beautiful stuff. Again, this is all acadized stock cases, just coated so that it repels dirt and water and things like that past the whole season. And these engine hangers, you can see just these little cutouts here. That simple removal of material will change the characteristic of the bike. So you can imagine, like we talked earlier, just little cuts here, little holes here or there, and these guys can futz with that and play with it all day long and try to get the feel that they want. Beautiful stuff here, titanium billet pegs. That's all Nihilo, which is a company that makes a lot of products for KTM and Husqvarna. As you drop to the back, again, the really high-end Brembo brake system, Motormaster rotors with the kite hubs. And you get an idea of, look how short this muffler is. It almost looks like an old two-stroke muffler. But somehow they managed to still pass sound with that short of a muffler. That's saving weight. And the closer you can keep that weight to the center of the bike, that's also affecting handling. And a little trick you barely catch here. This is an old school thing right here, zip tying the spokes together. That way if one spoke breaks, it doesn't fly around and knock a bunch of other spokes out, it'll hold it in place. You don't see that a lot anymore. That's an old school trick right there. Akrapovic, again, providing their carbon fiber. This is a custom piece, again, a little bit bigger, gives them a little more volume inside of there. And these things, what's really incredible about the Husqvarna and the KTMs is that they do very little. The transmissions are a different material, a little stronger to last a little bit, but it's the same stock ratios. They put a little bit higher compression piston in or a cam, but sometimes they're running the stock piston. I mean, there just isn't a whole lot to do to this motor-wise because they come so good. I mean, they say they're ready to race, and I mean, that has never been more true. So a lot of it is just little bolt-on bits and pieces and things to make the chassis better, to make it more comfortable for the riders specifically. Brembo master cylinders here. These things are really high-end for the hydraulic clutch. And look at these clutch levers and brake lever. Really cool, kind of a dull finish. My guess is these are manufactured specifically for something he likes, a shape and bend, but also this rough finish would keep it a little texture when it gets wet. So whether that's sweat on your finger or rain or mud, if it was polished, it could get a little slick. That way you got some grip still there with that. And then you see up top, this is a data acquisition piece as well. So they'll be tracking probably a GPS there so they can look again where he's out on the track, where his throttle position is in different places. Is he getting wheel spin? Is the motor revving up quick? Is he over revving it? Did he miss a shift? They can go back and review all that information. It's the number 25 machine, a work of art. All right, Cooper Webb's race bike here under the Yamaha tent. Really anxious to see how his season goes. This is a guy that's poised to have a really solid season. And the blue bike, this is new for this year. Got some pretty cool parts and pieces on it, so let's check it out. Starting with the get ignition, pretty tough to miss this. So the way they'll use this, when you're on the start line with a bunch of bikes, it's hard to hear where your RPMs are at. So you'll see all these little lights. They'll dial up until one of these will turn red, this light in the center. And so that shows you're right in the RPM range that you want to be for your start. And you can adjust whatever that RPM range is that you like at the test track, so that when you're on the start line, you're just looking for this little red light to be lit up. It's just a good way to make sure you're in the right RPM range when you can't hear your own bike, and that is a problem. As you drop down here, DID Dirt Star rims, these are really strong. I love the blue coloring. It's a factory hub, and again, a really cool color. It's like an aluminum looking color, really sweet. It's funny, the front brake caliper, it's not that big, but they're incredibly strong. Really small steel braided line, so you're really getting a good clamp on the fluid in there. And KYB, they're running KYB suspension, the black anodized coating on that, looks really cool. You see the Get Ignition, obviously a big part of their program and their engine package. This is really neat too. So Pro Circuit makes all of their exhausts, and you see this can and this little custom PC. I've never seen that before. That's built just for this, but really trick looking, so cool stuff. The carbon fiber here, he said that's all manufactured in-house just for these guys. Again, the GYTR parts and pieces, which they do sell here. Titanium foot pegs. You got all the KYB factory stuff for suspension. As you drop to the back, again, you'll see titanium parts and pieces here. And when we get to the back, again, you see all these bolts are titanium and hollowed out to get as much weight out of them as you can. You see the little drill holes in here inside this nut, the banjo bolt. That's just so that you can zip tie it to something, so there's no way this thing can back off and pop out. Again, a guy losing his brake mid-race because this is leaking oil is problematic. So they do everything they can to make sure that stays tight. As you come this way, again, this looks like some type of factory cases. Those are just stock cases that they've sanded down with Scotch-Brite or something else. Just shows you the love that goes into these motorcycles, how shiny all this stuff is. And then this is all titanium, obviously. GYTR making their case covers, and these custom carbon fiber pieces that they have manufactured in-house. You get up top, really basic stuff here. Renthal fat bars. Looks like he's using stock levers. Renthal grips. Coupe doesn't need a whole lot to get comfortable. All right, hey guys, we're in JGR's Auto Trader Yoshimura Suzuki pits, and this is Weston Peick's race bike. These things are looking really cool. They had a lot of work to do. It's a brand new motorcycle, so they had to kind of start from the ground up. Factory hubs again. Some of this stuff they can plug right in from factory Suzuki, but the unique thing about JGR down there is they're able to manufacture their own stuff. Their warehouse is massive, particularly on the NASCAR side. So when you start looking through here, you can see some of these parts and pieces are going to be factory Suzuki. The black part you see here is actually stock cases. They just put a coating on that again protects them, makes them a little stronger. But when you start looking at like these engine hangers, that's all manufactured down at their plant at JGR. And so by making different materials, different shapes, thicknesses, they can change the flex characteristic. And you'd be surprised how big of a difference something this simple, shaving some material off, punching some holes, that makes a huge difference in the handling of the bike. Radiator braces you can see behind here, those are all made in-house. Billet titanium foot pegs made in-house, the titanium cap on top of the brake pedal there. These guys are running Showa. It's the same Showa setup a lot of guys are running. It's a spring fork, but it has an option to add some air as well. There's a bladder to increase stiffness at certain parts of the stroke. Most guys aren't running much air, but they do have that capability if they need to. Factory Suzuki hubs, those come from Japan. But as you get around again, you see a lot of the chain blocks, the little parts and pieces. They manufacture a lot of that down at JGR. Again here, your case saver, that's a JGR product. All the engine work's done in-house, and in fact, all the suspension work is done in-house at JGR. They do have a guy at Showa that's sort of their liaison, but again, they've got shock dynos down there, they're doing all their stuff themselves. They got this little idle adjuster here. All that stuff is just custom made, makes it easier for them. Cable bracket here. Acropovic does provide skid plate and some carbon. They do have the capability to make it down there, but sometimes it's just easier for them to have those guys send it. That's a factory Suzuki part there on the shift lever. And these things, they said kind of their biggest issue they had working through the new bike this year was trying to get it to tighten up. The new bike was a little loose in stock trim, as they described it. The guys wanted it to be a little more firm and planted and rigid. So they're happy with it. We'll see how Weston Peick does this season. All right, guys, we found Chad Reed's race bike, his Husqvarna FC450. This thing literally just got put together, completed about 5 minutes ago. We're getting our kind of first look at it, and this thing looks good. Very clean, simple graphics. It's kind of not what we're used to seeing anymore, and I like it. And another thing that's really interesting right off the bat that strikes you, he's got KYB stuff on a Husqvarna, something you don't see a lot. He paired it with the X-Trig clamps, which a lot of people are going to. And it sounds like he really likes the feel of the way this works. The guys at KYB are helping him. The technical touch folks, they're going to be sort of working with him throughout the season, but he's stoked with where it's at. So in stock trim, he said like any bike, it needed a little bit more grunt down low for Supercross. He worked with Mitch Peick over at Pro Circuit, and they got this thing working well. Says he's ready to go. So if you kind of get down and get into some of these parts, again, like a lot of the factory bikes, you got the stock cases that have been anodized, a lot of titanium parts and pieces for weight. You see the Nihilo parts and pieces, so this is all billet titanium. These things are crazy sharp. And he's going with the Brembo stuff. He's got the big caliper stuff, Pro Circuit link arm to go along with the KYB stuff, Pro Circuit exhaust system and engine components. And W is building his wheel sets as well. So we're gonna go with DID rims on these and Talon hubs. And he went with a real clean silver look. I think it just looks really sharp. And he's using some of the Acropovic carbon. This stuff is just for these Huskies, fits perfectly. The skid plate as well, mounts right up, tucks in there nicely. So real simple, and again, this is a works piece. Just again, gives you a little bit more volume there. It's anodized so it stays cleaner, it's stronger if it gets hit with a rock, even though it's got this protection. This thing's a bullet. And as you back out, you can see he's doing the ODI lock-on grips with the ODI bars. And everything else is pretty standard. Standard levers. I think he just jumped on, liked the way it felt, built in a little bit more horsepower, got the suspension working, and he's happy. You can notice on the front here, the big Brembo front brake, and those really cool KYB fork lugs down here. All this stuff's titanium. Beautiful looking bike. Let's hope Chadrick can put this thing on the box this year and get some wins.